do 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 do. Yay! Oh, hi there, Red. Hey, Pink. How are you doing today? Oh, not too bad. Want to hang out? Yeah, sure. Cool. It's been so long since we've hung out. Yeah, but there's something on my mind. What is it? Well, you see, I've been a little bit confused about this math problem that my teacher's presented me with. She seems to think it's so common sense, but I just don't get it. Well, do you want help with it? That would be amazing. Well, let's start with what is the problem? What's the question? Well, I'm having some trouble figuring out why 0 is so special. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean why it's so special? Well, my teacher says I can't divide by it, and I don't really understand why. Oh, 0. It always poses so many problems. You know what, though? I think I can help you. Why don't we do a little bit of a tutorial? Are you sure? Are you sure you'd do that for me? Do you have time? Oh, definitely. Are you sure? Yeah, anything for you, pal. All right, well, just look at this board. I'll show you exactly what she's talking about. So tell me, Red, what seemed to be the problem? Well, we're talking about this thing in class called the division property of 0, and I just don't really understand it. I love this stuff. I hate it. Well, basically, this property says that if A is not equal to 0, then 0 divided by, let's just wait here, divided by A, also written just 0 divided by A, is equal to 0. Because, remember, in this case, 0 is the, let me just point this out. 0 is the numerator, meaning that there are 0 parts of A, which would be the whole. So 0 parts of anything is equal to, of course, 0. Was that helpful? Gee, yeah, that was really helpful. But there's more that I don't understand. See, I don't understand what my teacher means when she says that division by 0 is undefined. What on earth does that mean? Well, in order to understand how division by 0 is undefined, first we need to understand what the missing factor approach of division is. So, for example, say we were given the problem 24 divided by 8, and we need to figure out what that is. What we could do is say 24 is equal to 8 times question mark. 8 times what? And we know that 24, is 8 times 3. So that means that 24 divided by 8 is 3. Okay, well, let's first examine this first scenario, case 1. So where we have A divided by 0 is equal to C, where A is not equal to 0. So to do that, we could, using the missing factor approach, we could go A is equal to 0 times C, and we're trying to figure out what C is. But, of course, anything times 0 is equal to 0, so now we have A equals 0. But right from the beginning, we said that A cannot equal 0. So these two equations don't make sense together. So therefore, A divided by 0, any number divided by 0, is undefined using the missing factor approach. Oh, that should be an E and a D. Okay, let's imagine a case 2. In this case, we're actually going to be dividing 0 by itself, so 0, which is equal to C. So using the missing factor approach again, we go 0 is equal to 0 times c. C is what we're trying to figure out. But anything times 0 is going to be equal to 0. So in this case, c could be anything, and the answer would always give you 0. So you can't really figure out what c is using the missing factor approach. So 0 divided by 0, again, would be undefined. C could be any number. It's not defined. Okay, I already wrote this out, but I'll just explain it. So another way of looking at this whole problem about dividing any number by 0 is looking at the progression as we divide by smaller and smaller numbers. So take the first equation here, so this one here, 4 over 4, that fraction. Anything divided by itself is equal to 1, right? How about 4 divided by 2? Well, we know that that's equal to 2. And then 4 over 1 is 4. And you can see here what we're doing is we're just making the denominator smaller and smaller each time and not changing the numerator. So what happens essentially is as we progress doing this, the number is getting, as you can see, bigger and then bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I have dot dot dot, because we know if you keep doing this, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So maybe we should try graphing this to show you what that means. Okay, so if we were to graph this out, let's remember we're looking at the fraction 4 over 4, or really 4 over anything, because we're changing that denominator. So yeah, a in this case is going to be our denominator. All right, so we're going to graph this. We're going to graph the fraction as we make the denominator smaller and smaller and smaller. So along the x-axis here, then we would have our fractions. Our denominators. So we started with the biggest one was 4 because we were looking at 4 divided by something. And then up our y-axis, we're going to have the values that we calculated. And then basically it's going to approach infinity. So let's try graphing this. The first one was 4 divided by 4. So if we look at 4 divided by 4, we know that to be equal to 1. So we go over to 4 on our x-axis and we match it up with 1 on our y. And then 4 divided by 2 was 2, 4 divided by 1 was 4, and then you can see 4 divided by half was 8. And if we just make a whole bunch of denominators closer and closer and closer to 0, when we graph that, it's just going to get closer and closer and closer to infinity. So basically, if we were to connect these dots here, you can see that as the denominator, so that's the x-axis, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, as it approaches 0, the value of that fraction is going to approach infinity. So another way of saying this is that as x divided by 0 approaches, because it will never actually get there, approaches infinity. And also infinity is not a defined value, therefore this entire equation, x over 0 approaches infinity, is considered to be undefined. Oh, we forgot an e, undefined. There you have it. So was that helpful? Oh yeah, definitely. Oh good. I feel so much better about all this stuff now. Rock on, man. Here's my thumbs up of approval. You've done well. Good learning. That's it for now. The end. So, let me try doing this again. Okay, so we had ah. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.